Help them to smile every day for school. Make them they brush with Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection, because Colgate locks calcium in,
keeps cavities out.
Perceptions could change. Opinions can be formed with more and accurate information. Get all sides, views, and opinions on topical issues. Have your say on Perspectives. With Twin Alabi at 9 a.m. Mondays to Fridays on Invicta 98.9 FM. Perspectives. All sides, all views, all individuals are welcome.
Good morning, everyone out there. The program is Perspectives, and my name is Jacqueline Adebija. You're welcome to the program this morning. Is there any Nigerian that is not aware that we live in times when there is not only insecurity, but also a feeling of uncertainty? No one really knows what's about to happen, and a lot of it comes down to the rhetoric that we hear from different sides of the nation. I'm talking about the season in which, very, very unpleasant season, in which Nigeria finds itself at this time, where we seem to be having a season of ultimatums, eviction ultimatums being issued on all sides. This isn't a good development for any Nigerian, not just because of patriotism, but really also because there's really nowhere you can really call home, is there? And so for a lot of Nigerians, this is serious cause for worry. Because for quite a number of Nigerians too, picking up on these rhetorics without really delving into the issues and trying to find the way out. Well, to help us in that discussion, to help people be reasonable, and understand what we're faced with, is Mr. Lawrence Obewe, the convener of Reset Nigeria. And who better to come talk to us about resetting Nigeria this morning? Mr. Lawrence Obewe,
good morning, Jackie.
Good morning,
listeners.
Great to have you in the studio with us. Mr. Lawrence Obewe, a season of, how do we put it now? Eviction ultimatums being issued both by the elite and the ruling class, and also by other forums, other hands, let me put it that way. We have too many hands in this stew. But there is a reason why this has happened or has been allowed to happen in a country like Nigeria, a country that was declared, the people of it were declared as the happiest people on earth. And this was not something that they just came by. It was based on research. That Nigerians were very welcoming, Nigerians, always willing to lend a helping hand. But it seems like even that title of the happiest people on earth is no longer a title that belongs to Nigeria. Why? And so, taking a look at the foundations, because our people say to know where you're going, to understand what is happening to you, you have to take a look back, to understand what's the root, where are we coming from, what's wrong, why are we having this situation in Nigeria right now?
Thank you, Jackie. Good morning, listeners. I would say that this has always been our season. I think that Nigerians are just awake this year to this new rhetorics. But if you look at it, it's not really new in our climb. It's something we've been used to. And I think it's the nation's way of responding to the irresponsibility of their leaders. And it's also the leaders' way of keep dividing the citizens, for them not to come together with one voice. It's not the first time. What is happening in the Southwest today is not the first time. It's been there. If you remember, just immediately we entered the Fourth Republic, there was the Asari Dokubo of the Niger Delta Volunteer Force issuing threats, and there were counter threats. That was in 2015, even though the then President Olusegun Obasanjo, tried to deal with it decisively. But immediately he left office, it escalated and metamorphosed into full-blown crisis. Fortunately for us, we had a leader who took the bull by the horn and was able to bring that to a close. I'm talking about late President Umar Musa Yar'Adua, who granted amnesty, sat down with the militants and had discussion. If you look at the Southeast, even in recent memories, you've seen the Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, the self-acclaimed leader, also issuing that time of rhetorics, asking for insurrection against a particular part of the nation. Not much has been done, and if you look at the reasons that are cited in some of those things, all of them are still prevalent in our society. Then, if you look at our recent past, I think on the 6th of June 2017, one Abdulaziz Suleiman, speaking for Northern Youth Forum with other coalition, gave the Igbos in the north 3 months to vacate the north. Even though the Kaduna state government then ordered for their arrest, but I know that up to today, nothing was done to the guy, not even questioning. So, this kind of impetus at the background that gives people courage to continue to do this kind of thing. So, and if you look at, don't forget the NSAS on the 19th of October in Abuja, somebody masquerading as the leader of the Abuja indigenous people issued threats to peaceful protesters to vacate the streets or be met with violence. And on the 20th, we saw violence. And the interesting part of that particular news conference was that it was held in front of the police headquarters in Abuja, with almost all media organizations covering it. Up to today, nobody has been held to account on that. So if you have this kind of things happening in a nation, it won't be surprising if other groups are springing up. And for me, the summation of everything that we are talking about today, is happening on governed spaces in our polity, where you have warlords who control, and the ones we are talking about are the ones who are speaking up, the ones who are bold enough to address press conferences and all that. There are other leaders, warlords, who are holding on governed spaces. We know what is happening on the Abuja-Kaduna Road. We know what is happening on the Zamfara, Beningwari, Katsina Axis. We know what's happening in some of the bushes in southwest and southeast. We know what is happening with Boko Haram and all that. So Nigeria is sliding into a failed state. It is not a pleasant thing to say, but that's the truth. Because there is big leadership vacuum lacking in Nigeria. And when you have a gap, people will naturally fill those gaps in. Unfortunately for us, it is miscreant and misguided elements that are filling in that gap. So it's not something to say that this is the season. It's something we've lived with all our lives, and nothing has been done to address it. What do you think is the cause? I think there is something that happened around the NSAS. We've always questioned the National Bureau of Statistics figures that about 24% of Nigerians are unemployed. Sometimes they say 15, sometimes they say 20. But if you look at the organization of the NSAS and the turnout, you begin to question the figures consistently released by MBS, because it was showing you that majority of Nigerians had nothing to do, because the ones that were working were engaged in the office. So if you see the mammoth crowds turning up in states, it will tell you that Nigerians have nothing to do. And when you talk about employment, people don't talk about the underemployment. So there are a lot of issues. The ungoverned spaces is not just around the security architecture. For instance, for a civil servant who earns 30,000, which is about what they earn now, and has 4 children, and will have to send the 4 children to schools that are charging 80,000 per term every 3 months, how does he cope? So that alone is a propensity for him to look for a way to subvert systems to be able to cope. So you have ungoverned spaces everywhere. Whereas we are here this morning talking about the ones that are bold enough, the warlords that have come out to come and talk. The ones that are not talking are causing more devastating harm than even the ones that are not talking. So for me, I think that it is a time for government to sit up. They cannot continue to slumber. That's what the government is doing now. And when I say government, I'm not talking about President Muhammadu Buhari. I'm talking about government at all levels. Local government system, the state governors, the federal government, the National Assembly, everybody needs to. Because it's pointing to the fact that governance is absent at the grassroots. And that's why, because if somebody will come up, for instance, in Kaduna State and issue ultimatum, and nothing happens to the person, another issues ultimatum in Oyo, nothing happens, another one in Abuja, nothing happens, another one in Umuahia State, nothing happens, another one in it's telling you that even though you have government in these places, they have lost control of controlling their people. And it's telling you that there is something that is lacking there, why people don't believe them. Then over the weekend, we saw the peace accord facilitated by Sheikh Gumi with militants who came and laid down arms with promise not to attack. And the leader, who ironically claimed to be a graduate of our prestigious Ahmadu Bello University, was talking about lack of government presence in their locality as a reason for why they take to arms. And I think that that's a profound statement that should worry everybody. As bad as the activities are, but if you don't look at and address the root cause of this crisis, you will just be pouring water on top of cocoyam leaf. So government presence in their locality, that their people have nothing to do, the youths, some of whom went to school. As he claimed, he's a graduate of ABU. So is a state of hopelessness for the people, where people have decided. And in the midst of all this poverty and penury, don't forget that you have the political class living in large affluence, driving big cars, riding siren all around, living in big houses and wearing good clothes. So it will take you to that statement by one of the French philosophers, that one day that the people will have nothing left to eat except the rich. And I think that's where we are today.
Is it only the rich that we would say are being faced with these issues, or you know how they say that when two elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers? Because most of the people who have lost their lives, most of the people who have been kidnapped, most of the people who have found themselves victims of this situation right now in Nigeria would tell you that they are really nobody, in quote. And so one could argue that point where we say the poor would have only the rich. We have a situation, seems like, in Nigeria where the poor are actually eating the poor at this time. And I want to link that to the role that elites have played, the people of the ruling class have played in the sorry state in which Nigeria has found itself. I mean, we've talked about warlords, you've talked about that, talking about them at some level. But how do you explain governors making incendiary statements, past administrators, past like the former, even the former Minister of Defense, I think he was T.Y. Danjuma. I mean, where he has categorically come out, not once or twice, to say even our security architecture, they're colluding. And he has said, pick up arms and, guard yourselves. And so and that's just one example. We could start to talk about so many who have made incendiary statements. And so one might want to ask, these other small, in quote, warlords who have come out with eviction notices for people right across Nigeria, are they working alone, or are they dancing to the tune of still these same people in power? Because one would have to ask, why haven't these people been arrested? What would your answer be?
First of all, it is not possible. I give examples of where it has happened before the current one, and no arrest was made, no discussion around it was had. And that can only explain the fact that those people had the backings of their sponsors. Fortunately for me, I was involved in vacating the eviction notice by Abdulaziz Suleiman on the Igbos to vacate the North. And it opened my eyes to a lot of things. It's not things to say on radio. So that's on one part. The second part is the fact that the people have become pawns to politicians. Unfortunately, every politics is settled with human lives in Nigeria. You can look at what is happening in the Southwest currently and also link it to the gearing up and preparation to the 2023 elections. We are all witnesses, depending on your perspective. Good, we are on perspective this morning. People analyze from their own perspective. So you can also get analysis that points to the fact that these are all preambles to the 2023 election, that people are beginning to test water. That's on the second hand. The third one is that you try to look at the big figures that have made such reckless rhetorics in the past and compare them to these small ones. And my straight answer will be, what is the leadership recruitment process in Nigeria? Who becomes the leader in Nigeria? For me, there is no difference between a governor and a street tout in Nigeria. Because actually, that's the process of leadership in Nigeria. Because you must be a killer, you must be a thug, you must be able to unleash violence for you to win an election in Nigeria. So
is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, in Nigeria, that's what it is. Look at most of our leaders. I will not say 100%, but look at 90% of our leaders. Who were they? What were their addresses? So we are a nation ruled by irresponsible rats, who, by virtue of the office, some of them now answer honorable. I have never been a member of the National Assembly. It was in the National Assembly that a former senator stood up and accused most of his colleague of being gun runners, armed robbers, 419ers, people he investigated while in office. I didn't say that. Lawrence didn't say that.
Who made that statement? Because we need to, if we say a former lawmaker stood up to say this, it's good that we have names so that people can go back and cross-check and know who exactly.
Anyway, you're a journalist. I think that should be your problem. But I can also tell you, he represented Bauchi Central. So I think you can put a name to it. It's not something I want to mention. Or you go and cross-check your facts. So I am not the one. He's actually not the only one. Another former senator also accused his fellow members of being armed robbers he investigated. He represented Niger. I think the streets where this radio station is named after him. So I'll leave you to also cross-check that fact. So that explains to you the leadership recruitment process in Nigeria is already faulty. So if you see a governor making a statement, who was he? All the honorables we know, are they all honorable members? In all honesty of the meaning of honorable. So for me, I attach no significance to the personality in government or outside who says it. Because Nigeria already has a faulty leadership recruitment process.
So, but people would ask, why do we, you talked about people with different perspectives and all of that. Why do the Nigerian people not have one perspective as regards this nation? You take a look at a place like the United States. I mean, when push came to shove, with all the support that the likes of Mike Pence as vice president, Mike Pence has been one of the most loyal vice presidents that America has ever seen. He's made, stayed in the background and always supported his principle. And then when you go to Congress, we're talking about the likes of Mitch McConnell, who continued to give support to the former President Trump. Until that last moment, when they knew that at this point, it's either America or, we support something that is going to completely destroy our democracy for good. Today, we see that they chose, it was indeed America first. At the last moment, they chose America first. This seems to be a problem that many of us have as concerns this great nation called Nigeria. We have different perspectives. Why?
Okay, you give example with America, and I'll just take you to the last thing I said. What is the leadership recruitment process in America compared to Nigeria? In America, from primary 6, for instance, the equivalent of primary 6, you could tell who a leader will be. It will be very obvious in people's personality.
Is that right? The coming to power of Trump, do you not think that this in itself negates what you were saying about the recruitment or leadership recruitment process in a place like the United States of America?
While I don't want us to dwell in the personality of Trump,
yes,
I will also say, just as I said, it will depend on the perspective of the analyst. A lot of people will look at Trump. I was disappointed, definitely greatly, with his actions in the last 2 months. But before then, he won my heart. I think what people accuse Trump of is what we ask of our leaders. Be Nigeria first. Everything he did for America. He grew the biggest economy in the history of the United States. He grew the biggest job. The job numbers. He caused no war. He finished everyone he met on ground. He moved all American troops out of war zones. So what else do you ask of your leader?
Well, you might be right.
I understand the rhetorics. But you don't take away someone's personality. But in terms of getting the job done for which he was elected, I don't think anybody could fault him. So, and that's why I said it depends on who's analyzing. But let's not dwell. That's United States. So, but is a contrast to what you have in Nigeria. You don't have people who have a national outlook in their behaviors in Nigeria. You have people who have very negative personal ambition, governing spaces meant for citizens. So when they are there, it's either they or no one else. And when it comes to them losing their popularity, they instigate violence. That's why you hear these rhetorics, because that's what you use to galvanize your people. We've heard it plenty. I don't want to mention names on radio, but we've heard it. And as journalists, I know you can remember. Since 1999, we've heard people making statements that can embed them to their own base, to the detriment of the nation. So it's something that has been consistent in Nigeria. And that's why I keep asking, what is our leadership recruitment process? There are a lot of people in governance who naturally shouldn't have anything to do here. We've had people who were prisoners, who were ex-convicts, become governor in Nigeria. You want me to mention names? I'm not going to mention names. It's your job as journalists to find out. So the issue is that, do you have a system that checks just the way the American system checked those last 2 months of Trump? We don't. So, and that's why we are suffering what we are suffering.
We don't have the systems that check, and that's part of why we have this program. If you're just joining us this morning on Perspectives, you're listening to Mr. Lawrence Obewe, the convener of Reset Nigeria, and indeed we're talking about the sore need of resetting that Nigeria, our great country, needs. These are not pleasant times for people who are watchful of current events in this nation. We'll be going on a quick commercial break, and when we get back, we hope that you will still be with us so that we can continue to talk. Stay with us.
Idan ka ga wasan da ake bugawa, kamo tashar channel 203 yanzu nan.
To dakata, a bara na duba. Kaga, gashi na kasa kamo tashar ba.
Haba, da gaske? Ba ka da labarin tsarin step up ne? Yanzu ina kallon fafatawan wasanni kai tsaye daga manyan gasannin kwallon kafa tunda na ƙara ɗaukaka tsarin biyan DSTV na. Kuma na samu tsari na sama da shi.
Tabbas haka ne. Ƙara ɗaukaka tsarin biyan ka zuwa mataki na gaba. Idan akan tsarin kallo ta yanga package kake, ƙara ɗaukaka tsarin biyan ka zuwa confirm, za ka samu haurawa zuwa tsari mafi girma, wato tsarin DSTV compact da ke akan naira 7,900 ka more kallon duk wasannin kai tsaye. Wannan garaɓasan kawai na ƙayyadadden lokaci ne, a kushirya da ka'idoji.
I'm not sure that the question we're asking, that the answer is very far away from us. I think we need to look at the kind of leadership that we have. We've talked a lot about America. We can look at our neighbors where people provide purposeful leadership. If you look at Nigeria, for instance, you don't give what you don't have. And because you don't give what you don't have, there will always be that pressure for you to give what is expected. So how do you kill off the pressure? The only way to kill it off is to divide the people. If you read the Holy Book, they said when a certain community decided to build a tower to heaven, the only thing that even God did was to give them different languages so that they couldn't communicate. So knowing fully well that with different languages, that unity of purpose will be lost. And that was how the building of the tower stopped. And I think that's a complete replica of what you have in Nigeria. When our leaders don't want us to come together to demand for accountability, what they do is to give us our tongues and our creed and our tongues, knowing fully well that that is a sharp divider. If you look at the rhetorics that we've been talking about since morning, for each of them, it resonates to a particular ethnic region or a particular creed, a particular religion. So, and that's the whole essence. The whole essence is to galvanize your base. and turn it to against the other one. And the first question you asked me was whether these people were working alone or they had backers. So if they have backers, it means that what they are doing is playing the script of their backers, whose major aim is to continue to perpetuate themselves in power at the detriment of the people. So I don't think it's something that is very far why it is. Unfortunately for us in Nigeria, why people preach creed and tongue, there is nobody who's standing up for humanity. Because for every life that is lost is a life that cannot be replaced, is a life that was not created by the person taking it. So there should be that person who can stand in the gap for humanity. And that's what leadership is supposed to provide. Why do we have this rhetoric emanating? As I started the program, I have given you plenty places where it happened without consequences. If there were consequences in those places, you will not have new ones imagined. But people have seen that you can get away with anything you do in Nigeria. So the incentive is for you to join the bandwagon. I often say that sometimes in Nigeria, it becomes a crime for you not to be a criminal. So just being, what do I call it? Somebody of good character and value sometimes in Nigeria becomes a crime. Because you're punished, the police. We've seen people killed in a nation that is facing one of the biggest security challenges on earth. Nigeria was rated recently as one of the worst places to live. But what you have is your security agencies harassing people for the kind of haircut they keep, for the kind of clothes they wear, whereas criminals parade around. My only fear is that we are getting to a very dangerous dimension, because when this crisis and this rhetorics enters the angle of ethnic profiling, then it has gone to the dangerous dimension. And I don't think we need anybody to remind us of what happened in Rwanda between the Tutsis and the Hutus. So
but do we now already have this ethnic profiling where we're saying every certain ethnic group, all of them are herders and all of them are kidnappers, and then we're saying, aren't we doing that already?
That's what I'm saying. That's the dangerous dimension. And why is it entering? It's because there is that ungoverned space, gap in leadership, that is now making certain people believe that certain people are backing certain people. Now, profiling, ethnic profiling is something I don't tolerate. I know that criminals have no nationality, they have no ethnicity, they have no religion. All this, what they are criminals. But when people saddled with responsibility of bringing criminals to book fail to do it, that's when you begin to put in these bits in describing people. Now, if you look at the Southwest, I believe, and it is my opinion, that both the farmers and the herders are all victims of the failure of states. Now, we have been told, we read in history, we have followed, that in Nigeria, you have cattle grazing routes. In Nigeria, you have farmlands. The farmers will have to go to farm. The herders will have to graze their cattle. Now, unfortunately for us, while our population is growing astronomically, our land space is shrinking. Desertification, climate change, drought, erosion and all that is reducing the space. Now that puts so much pressure on the farmer to look for additional space to produce his crop. And that includes taking up that one that was made for cattle grazing. But the question to ask, in the 21st century, are we not supposed to have found better ways of both farming and herding? Should children who naturally should be in school be walking around with cows in the 21st century? Is that how it's done outside here? But do you blame the herder? What is government policy around it? Has anybody told them you can no longer do this? Let's do it this way.
So, but with this question, the government did try to bring up this idea of we shouldn't even have cattle roaming around. Why don't we have them in reserves? Why don't we put all these people in one place so that even the children can be targeted with education? Yes. Because if they're in one place, then you can follow up on the education of these children and even their health. They can begin to feel the effects of government, and then also beginning to take ownership and say, look, now I understand that Nigeria is my country because I see the government also trying to take care of me. But we, the same Nigerians, did reject these moves. It looked like.
At what point?
Is there, the question then would be, if you're asking at what point, then the question one would be forced to ask is it ever too late to start from somewhere?
I think we have, the biggest problem in Nigeria is that we have very short historical memories. In 1986, the Babangida administration set up the nomadic education, headed by even an Igbo man, Professor Chima, something, I'll remember his name, to do what you are doing. And they did it for a number of years. But successive government abandoned it. Now, that's on one part. Two is that I think in Nigeria, one of the biggest problems is that people want to go and do an announcement. For instance, if you need to set up a university, do you need to now go and announce that you are setting up a university?
But we say government should carry us along.
What I'm saying is, you can now, if the rejection came from the south, how many of such have been built in the north that had no rejection? So it questions government purpose as well. Because if it was questioned in the south, why not do one in the north so that we'll see how it is? So government itself is not serious. Don't put the blame outside the government. Because I know you're talking about Ruga.
Yes.
And so it doesn't matter.
Because talking about nomadic education, I don't think this was the first time we were having the idea of keeping them in one place.
No,
nomadic education was more about following them yes. into the bushes.
Yes, where they are camped.
Yes, and this of course was subject to move. We all know that they were nomads subject to pack up and leave, and so that that particular policy or whatever was not addressing the issue of cattle incursing into farming land. When this came up, Nigerians, we always say government should carry us along. And so when you talk about announcements, I don't exactly know where you were going with that, but I would say it was only right to let Nigerians understand that you can't just see tractors clearing up a certain place in a certain locality when you haven't been told that this is what the government is actually planning to do. Even though, yes, indeed, you have a point that I do know that in the north that quite a number of people, a number of governors said, look, let's do this in the north.
How many has been done? See, what I'm talking about announcement is the fact that Malam Nasir El-Rufai is building roads across the country. He has not received permission from Muhammadu Buhari to do that. And Muhammadu Buhari has not ordered other state government to follow his example to build roads. So what I'm saying is these are things that states can do without noise. The government can liaise with each state governor, have them on phone, have the discussion. This is the blueprint. Because let me tell you, I always say, both are victims. Majority of the cattle that are produced in Nigeria are consumed in the south. So naturally, there shouldn't be any resistance from the southern part of the country. But where you have people masquerading, these criminals masquerading as herders, because I know a lot of Fulanis who are my friends. There are a lot of them that I know that will give up their life for me, even more than my own people from my tribe. So, but when you see some of them, the nomads we know, the herders we know, carry stick and knife, and you see people carrying AK-47, will you feel comfortable around them? So those are the questions. What has the government done to separate these criminals from these hard-working, diligent ones? So if you look at the whole problem, because the issue of security is the responsibility of government. Number one, the essence of government in the first place. So if government is now abdicating this responsibility, what it is doing is pitching people against themselves. And I think that's what is happening. So the irresponsibility of government is what is fueling this tribe and creed. And it's now taking a very dangerous, because I hate this ethnic profiling thing. When you categorize a particular ethnic group to be this and that, in past they will tell you, once they see Igbo man, they say this one is a thief. You see this one, you say this one is this. I think that criminals are found everywhere. But it is the responsibility of government to make sure that criminals knows that they will always have their days with the law. Where leaders fail to do that, then you have a lot of ungoverned spaces.
Indeed, criminals are found in every creed and every tribe, every ethnicity. I don't think you could have ended your talk better than that. It is a very worrying time for those people who love this country, and the part that those of the ruling class have played in all of this, because as you were talking, Mr. Obewe, a place like Benue came up in mind, and all the rhetoric that came forth on each side when we knew that there were so many hands in that pot, and up till today the jury is out on who to hold responsible for what had happened in Benue. It gives cause for concern. Plateau, another, and there are so many. Taraba, the examples are really, really many, and it gives cause for concern. Time for us to hear from you out there on the program Perspectives this morning, talking about this great nation, because yes, Nigeria is great. The potential of it we're yet to see probably, but it is a great country no less. The lines are open. The numbers are 081 40,000 989 and 070 87800 989. Once again, that's 081 40,000 989 and 070 87800 989. Let's go take your calls. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Okay.
Good morning, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Lawrence. My name is Musa Bala. I'm calling from Governor.
You're welcome, Musa Bala.
Thank you very much. I guess I've made a lot of explanation, especially with regard to profiling any at a particular tribe, group of people, which is one of the best way of getting things done by some few people. And the consequences, you made an example with Rwanda. God forbid, they're not going to have it in concrete. But for us to look at everything on the federal government, we will continue to have these problems. Just like you mentioned, government has made an effort to create these ranches and so on and so forth. It is the same state government that started the effort. We have seen the governor in Nigeria that said that even prohibited his people in his state not ever to sell land for ranches. So it has taken a religious dimension. It is not only in the south. It has taken place in Benue. It has taken place in Plateau State. It has taken place in Taraba State. For some people to look at this thing as it belongs to a particular group that belongs to one religion or one tribe, they will continue to have this problem. Only God knows when it will end. For why we continue to look at it that way. The same people are saying that government should not involve in private business. Then I ask a question: who owns the airport? Government. Who uses it? Private organization. All these airlines that are flying in Nigeria belong to private organization, and they are making their millions every month. The same ranches and the same river would still belong to government. Anybody who wants to rear his cows, whether he's Imeka, whether he's Lawrence, whether he's Bola, whether he's Musa, let him come and do. By the time that he is no longer doing it, let him leave that place, because that place belongs to the government. But we keep hitting the public, we keep misleading the public that this is a private business, government should not join us. For God's sake, Nigeria is greater than any individual or any ethnic group or any section of this country. For the sake of innocent children, elderly, and so many, we should not allow our political interests to lead to the suffering of so many people. May God continue to bless us with good leaders, no matter where they come from in Nigeria, and no matter their tribe or religion. And may God continue to distance us from leaders that uses this kind of rhetoric to continue misleading the people and their agents. God bless Nigeria. God bless you. Good morning.
Good morning, Musa Bala. Indeed, and amen to that.
Good morning, Mr.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I'm Engineer Manuel.
Engineer Manuel, you're welcome.
Yeah, I think I appreciate Lawrence. I always admire him whenever he comes on board. He say it the way it is without compromising words. I appreciate you. Please keep it up.
Thank you.
Because we need more of you in the studio, any of the studio. You see, the truth needs to be told. You see, all those that claim to be landlord giving quick notice, they will just come because they have one social media that will listen to them, they will give quick notice. And nothing is being done to them. You see, I said this. When the first quick notice was given, and the governor asked the people to be arrested, were they arrested, or the announcement was just made to fulfill their righteousness? If those people were arrested in initial, when they make such a statement, and the law taking course on them, nobody wants to claim landlord to give quick notice. But they just allow it to happen, and they just say they were asked that they should be arrested. No one was prosecuted among those when the government made that statement. Is that not why you are seeing people will come up and begin to say they are giving quick notice to this region or this other region? Exactly. I'm born and brought up in the north, and nobody will come and tell me to leave the north, because this is where I was born, this is where I was raised. This is not the fact I know where I come from. Not that somebody will just wake up. Now, if they are claiming rights, I'm among those that we claim right. But we have a project called Nigeria. We have a project called Technology. Let's put sentiments aside. Any person, whether you are supporting whatsoever political party or whatsoever, when you go against the law should take its course from you. But what I'm saying, people that are romancing these people because they are using them for their selfish interest.
Let's take a few more calls, engineer.
Okay?
I said let's take a few more calls.
Okay, on the note here, I think enough is enough for those that claim to be landlord, that will just wake up in the morning and say they are giving quick notice. They should stop that, and those that are custodians of the law should begin to take action on them. Good morning.
And good morning to you, Engineer Emmanuel. Indeed, as we say, you're here and, nobody can move you. So also should no other person be moved from wherever you say you come from. I think this is part of the kind of voices that Nigerians should start to have. You cannot move me from here, and you cannot move any other person from wherever. Because Nigeria is ours. Let's take one more call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Welcome.
You are speaking with Mama Mustafa from West Tennessee.
Mama Mustafa, it's great to have a woman, have a voice on this program. You're welcome. Go ahead quickly, please.
My own view on this issue is that we are one Nigeria, and we have a lot of ethnic groups. We have more than one religion. Before, we are one. So I don't know why now that these politicians are using us. First of all, they start with religion, and now they are using ethnic groups. We Nigerians, we should not allow these people to be using us. After using us, they'll dump up as if we are refugees. So please, I'm asking Nigerians, please, they should not allow these people to be using us. Any government that is asking somebody to leave his state, the government should please and sit down and think. Anybody has right to stay in wherever he wants to stay. So nobody should tell somebody that somebody should live this place or live here or live there. Please, people should not allow those people to be using us. May God be with us. Thank you.
And amen to that. Thank you so much, Mama Mustafa. Indeed, always a joy to hear from women, because it seems like women always have this way of going straight to the point, seeing it for what it is and calling the BS, if you permit me. Mr. Obewe, your last line.
My last line is that we are sliding dangerously into unfortunately a phase state status. We are very close by rhetorics to Rwanda. So, and it's time for leaders to stand up. The blame is not just on the federal government. I mentioned the local government, I mentioned the state, because most of this agitation is actually coming up because of absence of governance. as we heard from the bandit repentant bandit. So government must do a lot, but we must not also divorce the fact that the federal government holds the yam and the cutlass, because it controls the security architecture of Nigeria. So if we want the government to be absorbed of blames, we must start talking about restructuring, devolving powers to the smaller unit, especially in terms of security, so that we can begin to get our country right. But the way we are sliding, if nothing is done, then perhaps this is the best time for us to now have a national conversation on what we want as a nation. Maybe that will build our confidence as a nation. Thank you.
Before you go, I just need to quickly chip this in. The presidency, I'm talking about the president himself, President Muhammadu Buhari, just last night issued like a directive, one would say almost like an ultimatum, that at local government level, every caretaker committee must be dissolved and local government structure must be established. What do you say the people should do about this in 30 seconds?
That's not the first time. He signed the executive bill, executive order, ordering for local government election, ordering for local government money of local government not to be given to them from state, but to be transferred directly to them. How many places are respecting that executive order? I am tired of issuing executive orders. I'm tired of issuing directives. Let's do things appropriate. This government is known for issuing directives, but it's not known for enforcing directives. So instead of issuing, there should be enforcement.
Instead of issuing, there should be enforcement. Thank you so much to the convener of Reset Nigeria, Mr. Lawrence Obewe. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Until tomorrow, when we hope to come your way once again with another edition of Perspectives, please remember that Nigeria is our country. Nigeria is our project. There is no other place that you can call home. Let's not lose home before we know the importance of home. Have a victorious day.